Greetings and salutations, fellow YouTubers. Welcome to Let's Hash It Out. I'm your host, Jay Lewis, and joining me today is co-host Nathan Hodge. Nathan, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing excellent today.
How is Metal Gear Solid treating you?
It's treating me pretty well. I've been enjoying it lately.
To our viewers, Nathan just finished up Bloodborne. Just beat the game a couple days ago and immediately went from one big game right into another, and now he's playing Metal Gear. So look for his YouTube streams. Right now his bandwidth's a little low, but it's a work in progress. But if you want to check him out, he's over on YouTube. What are you, Nate Hodge or Nathan Hodge?
Nathan Hodge.
Nathan Hodge.
YouTube.
All right. Some of you may be wondering what this show's all about. It's simple. It's a discussion from one gamer to another, where Nate and myself pick one random topic from the wonderful world of video games, and well, we just hash it out. Why not a traditional gaming podcast, you ask? Well, as I laid awake one night, pondering how to be great, it hit me. Just talk about video games. No segments, no bloat, just talk about games. After all, that's what me and Nate do best. Am I wrong, Nate, or is that what we do best?
It's among the top things that we do best, yes.
Alright, now that everyone knows what the show/discussion's all about, let's just go ahead and get right into it. For our first ever topic of our new discussion, I think we should just talk about our most anticipated games of 2016. How does that sound, Nate?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, now before I get your most anticipated game, I'm going to go ahead and go over to NeoGAF, and I want to talk about NeoGAF's top 25, and I'm just curious to see if, their list is reminiscent of what our list looks like. So, coming in at number 25 is Overwatch, followed by Neo. Number 23 is Ratchet & Clank. Number 22 is Dishonored 2. Number 21 is Gravity Rush 2. Number 20 is Firewatch. Number 19, which technically doesn't count because it got delayed till 2017, is Scalebound. Number 18 is XCOM 2. 17, Zero Time Dilemma. Number 16 is Fire Emblem Fates. Nate, that's probably a good one for you.
Oh, yes.
Number 15 is Quantum Break. Number 14 is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Number 13 is Tom Clancy's The Division. Number 12 is Nier. Number 11 is Street Fighter V. Number 10 is No Man's Sky. That's on our top 5 list, I guarantee it. Number 9 is Deus Ex. Number 8 is Final Fantasy 15. Number 7 is The Last Guardian. Number 6 is Mass Effect Andromeda. Rounding out the top 5, we have Dark Souls 3. Number 4 is The Legends of Zelda Wii U. Number 3 is Horizon Zero Dawn. Number 2 is Persona 5. And the number 1 most anticipated game for 2016 on NeoGAF is Uncharted 4, I almost said a Thieves Collection. A Thieves End. So, Nate, my question is, on this top 25 list, how many of these games spark your interest?
Pretty much half of them do. I mean, I have a lot of interest in a lot of those games. Some of the games that are on my list are not on their 25, though.
Really?
Yeah, I got a couple of games that I'm anticipating next year that didn't break their top 25, but they also have The Last Guardian on there, which I should have on my list, but I don't because it's a myth. It's a myth at this point. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way as you about that game. I'm being very reserved simply because sometimes when games stay in the oven too long, they can be overdeveloped and they overthink it, and sometimes the final product is just, it's just not exactly what it needed to be. I don't know if that's making sense or coming clear what I'm trying to say, but I don't know, man. I'm very reserved. I mean, I got high hopes for it, but it just seems like by now we should have seen more of what that game actually is. I'm assuming they're waiting until E3 to really show it off. What do you think?
If we don't see anything major on that game by E3, I would be very concerned.
Yeah, E3 is going to be huge this year, man. I mean, with Nintendo and the NX and just all the games that have been at E3 for the last 2-3 years, but we still haven't seen any new footage on. Like, I think this is going to be the E3 where I think there's going to be just multiple mic drop moments where you're just like, oh my god, did they just show that? So I'd say in terms of anticipation for E3, I think it's at like one of its all-time highs for me. I think the only E3 that'll rival this is when they were announcing the new consoles, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One and stuff. So I got high hopes, man. So we shall see. But why don't you go ahead and tell me what is on your top list in terms of anticipated games?
All right, my top 5 for 2016 outside of The Last Guardian is coming at number 5 is Mighty Number 9. The game, I got reservations about this game too, but I'm still excited to play it. Number 4 is Star Fox Zero. I'm a huge Star Fox fan, even though they're not all great games. I just particularly like the first two, so this is like a return to form for them, I hope. So anticipating that greatly. Number 3 is Street Fighter V. Everyone's anticipating that. It's going to be awesome. Number 2 is Final Fantasy Explorers, which is an RPG that's already been out in Japan, but we're going to get it in about 7 days. So very much anticipating that because it is number 2. It's going to be awesome. It's like Monster Hunter mixed with Final Fantasy themes. So, and my number 1 is, of course, No Man's Sky, because that's the greatest game I've never played.
No Man's Sky. So do a quick little roundup of that again real quick.
I got number 5 coming in at Mighty Number 9. Number 4 was Star Fox Zero. Number 3 was Street Fighter V. Number 2 is Final Fantasy Explorers. And number 1 was No Man's Sky.
And Final Fantasy Explorers, that was on 3DS, correct?
Yes.
Oh, so you have what, 2 Nintendo games and 3 PS4 games? Is that accurate?
Mighty Number 9 will probably be multi-platform.
Okay.
I'll end up getting that on Nintendo. But yeah, Star Fox and Final Fantasy will be both.
Oh, so Mighty Number 9. I didn't know if that was going to be on Nintendo or not. Okay. That makes sense. Well, that's a really good list. Got a fighter on there. Yeah, man, that's a pretty solid list. Let's talk some No Man's Sky. What's your thoughts on, because that game was supposed to come out last summer, and they ran into some bugs, or at least that's what we think has held the game back. Let's talk about that for a while. Tell me about No Man's Sky, because that's a game that's on my list.
Yeah, they're not telling us anything, so we really don't know what's happening with the development of this game. With the last round of press conferences they had mentioned that they had run into some problem with the game, but it wasn't tied directly to the development process. I think when we're all looking at No Man's Sky with awe, and we're not realizing that we saw this engine come to fruition before they even started building a game around it. So we're looking at it through its entire development process, and some of the development times for these games are upwards of 4 or 5 years now. So while it feels like we've been waiting forever, I think we're waiting the normal amount of time for this game. And from what I understand, they were running multiple universes at the same time before deciding on what universe the game was actually going to occupy. And I'm pretty sure that when they a kind of release date of June is when they kind of settled on which universe they wanted to use, and now they're fully developing the game and all the implementations for the gameplay mechanics. So I'm still hopelessly optimistic about this game, and I will probably continue to be until June.
One thing that strikes my interest, one of your favorite games of 2015 was Fire Emblem. You played the crap out of that on 3DS. I'm just curious as to, where that comes in, maybe on your top, is it in your top 10? It just kind of surprises me that didn't crack your top 5 for the sequel.
Well, the Fire Emblem series, it's a very, I don't know how to explain this, but Fire Emblem is very challenging and it's very strategic. So it's one of those games I can definitely go without playing this year because I'm already getting an RPG at the end in the next week, and I plan to be putting a lot of my time into that. And because I like to tackle a lot of multiple genres, I kind of had to push Fire Emblem to the back because I don't know if I'm going to have as much fun with it. I don't know. It might fit into my gaming schedule sometime this year, but with the constant barrage of great games coming at us, really, what do I have time to play?
Yeah, that's very, very true, man. I mean, that's a bad problem to have, to where you got these amazing games that, because, there's even more amazing games that are on top of that. Like, that's just is like crazy to me, man. My top 5 looks something in the effect of, what was my top 5? Coming in at number 5 was No Man's Sky. I'm really looking forward to that game. I'm curious to see what the final product looks like. I kind of know what to expect, but at the same time, it could be something completely different than what I think it's going to be. It's a game that I'm wondering how much it ties into VR. Maybe that's a thing, maybe that's not a thing. I have no idea. It's just that mystery game, so. That's my number 5. Coming in at number 4 is Guerrilla's new game, Horizon. That looks really interesting to me. I played all the, the Shadowfall, God, what's the name of those games? God, I am drawing a blank right now. It's the shooter, come on. Oh, Killzone, sorry. Guerrilla's old games, Killzones, I played every single one of those. I adored them. I thought they were really good games. A lot of people, said that game existed just to compete with Halo. I beg to differ. I played the crap out of the multiplayers back on the PS3 days. So I'm really interested to see what Guerrilla does with an all-new IP that's story-driven and, from what I gather, doesn't have any multiplayer. And if it does, I don't think it's going to be that much. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there's, major, co-op, elements. Who knows? Coming in at number 2 for me, right? Number 3 for me is Uncharted 4. I played all the other Uncharted games. I love them. They're beautiful games. They got tight controls. What can I really say about them that hasn't been uttered by pretty much everybody? They're just perfect games, and that's coming from a guy who generally likes open world games. So that was a surprise to me. Number 2 is not necessarily a game; it's actually an expansion. But the expansion for Dying Light, I'm really looking forward to that. And being that they said that the new map size is even bigger than the original game itself, that kind of classifies as damn near a sequel. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on my list and, hope that game does what I want it to do now that they're adding Doom buggies and they're adding something that wasn't in the original, which was like stealth weapons and, I'm really interested to see, what they can do there. And my number 1, and I kind of went back and forth with this last night, but after doing some research, I'm going to put Primal as my number one. I played the crap out of all the Far Cry games, and Far Cry 3 was one of my favorite games from last gen, and I am very interested to see what they can do with a single player only game. All the other Far Cry games, they had some kind of weak iteration of multiplayer, and it may have taken away from the single player experience, but now that they just scrapped it and they're just focusing solely on the single player, I'm really interested. And Brian Altano over at IGN, he got to play it, and based on his reaction, it only got my hype level for that game even higher. So what do you think about that list, Nate?
That sounds like a pretty good list.
Yeah.
You'll end up having to buy Dying Light again, though, won't you?
I don't think so, because if I'm not mistaken, they said that the standalone DLC, you could buy it as a standalone DLC for $20. So even if you haven't played the original game, you can just buy the DLC and you'll be just fine.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So yeah, I don't need the original game. So we'll see how that goes. What about? Let's talk about Horizon. Does that game interest you? Does it entice you?
It does. I'm very interested in it. It just looks incredible, but it's very much one of those games where I'm going to wait and see how it shakes out before I get too invested in it.
Yeah. As I continue to look at the NeoGAF list, there's some games on here that I still think that need some honorable mentions. Here's a game that made shooters like very popular. This is where shooters pretty much started. Coming in at number 32 is Doom. What do you think? Have you ever played the Doom game back on PC? What's your thoughts on Doom?
Oh yes. Doom is one of my favorite video game franchises. I'm very excited to see it back. But it's also one of those things where Doom and Mortal Kombat they just seem like they're products of the 90s, and they are not translating very well to this day and age. So I'm very reserved about this one too. I'm just going to wait and see more of it. The initial gameplay footage and video I've seen of it does look really awesome. But it's just like the hyper-violence thing just doesn't seem to work as well nowadays. Or maybe that's just me, but when I played the newer Mortal Kombat games, I got bored of them really quick because it's just repetitive violence.
Yeah, and doesn't it feel... I was going to say, doesn't it feel like they just try to one up, previous entries in the series, and just try to see how they could just push the envelope for no particular reason other than just to do it?
Yeah, that did feel like a big part of it, but it just seemed, I don't know, it's hard to find a balance between good gameplay and hyper-violence, and Doom could do that, with the right amount of lulls, with quiet, intense sections where you're wandering through the dark, matched with extreme violence and shooting and really intense battles. They might be able to find a good balance, but with a game like Mortal Kombat where you're just constantly violently beating your opponents, it gets very tiresome after a while. So we'll see how Doom does. I've definitely got my eye on that one.
Cool. One game we definitely have to mention that neither one of us have it on our list is The Legend of Zelda Wii U. Now, you're the bigger Nintendo fan, so I'm going to let you talk about that. Let's talk about The Legend of Zelda.
Well, from what I've heard, it's being pushed to the NX.
Do you believe that, or do you think it'll come out on both consoles?
I don't know what to believe, because Nintendo seems a little kooky right now. But I would be willing to bet.
I was going to say, I honestly think that it's going to come out on both consoles. Like, that's my honest opinion. I don't know, man.
Well, I don't know, man. The NX is just so much mystery surrounding it, but I would be willing to bet that they'll save this particular Zelda game for the NX to help push the console on release. Now, we could see it on the Wii U as well, but I don't know if they'll put that much resources into keeping the Wii U afloat after they get the NX up and going.
Now, if we knew that The Legend of Zelda was in fact coming out on Wii U, would that have made it on your top 5 list if you were positive it was going to be coming out?
Yes, it would have.
Pretty high up there, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, an open world Legend of Zelda, are you serious? You know what I mean? Like, that's all I've ever wanted in a game, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and I mean, Zelda kind of started the open world thing. I mean, Ocarina of Time was, it was almost open world as we know it today. So it'd be exciting to see them take on a modern open world game mechanic.
yeah. Now, one thing to factor in too, and we're on two different sides of the fence here. I think the NX is in fact coming out this holiday season. You don't think the NX is coming out, until next year. Let's just say that it did come out this holiday season. We don't even know what games are going to launch with the NX. So, there may be some sleeper games there that we don't even know about that, we got to factor that in. So that's great. You still think it's not
Yeah,
coming?
Nintendo, I really don't think it's coming out until 2017, but even if it was coming out this holiday season, they would have to give fans of Nintendo a reason to buy the game. And what we really want is more of the same franchises that Nintendo has. Legend of Zelda, Metroid,
Right.
anything. Anything from Nintendo would be great, and we just haven't been seeing a whole lot, so they really need to push the NX with like a main franchise game. And not Mario, just we get Mario enough. Like give us the Legend of Zelda to push it, or a new Metroid.
We need a new Metroid. That's what we need.
They really need to not only give us a new console Metroid, but they also need to go back and make 2D Metroid games. They could do both easily. Like a 2D Metroid game would not be that hard to develop, and fans would eat that stuff up. Like I would buy it, like without question. And if they would not have developed whatever the hell we're getting for the 3DS, like that spin-off shooter, I don't know what it is. Like if they had put that development time into like a 2D Metroid game, not only would they have pleased all their fans, but they would also have made a crap ton of money doing it. But hopefully they'll get their heads together here and give their fans what they want.
Yeah. All right. Now we're running a little long on this topic, but before I go on to your topic, is there any honorable mentions that you have that didn't make the list that we didn't talk about?
Not really. I mean, not that I can think of anything. There's just too many to think about, I think.
Okay. Well, we put that topic to bed. Ladies and gentlemen, you now know what our most anticipated games are of the year. So, Nate, why don't you get your topic going, man? What do you have for us?
All right, this is my topic, and this is a little bit of old news. This news broke like a week and a half ago, but I'm going to bring it up again anyway. They released a logo of a Sonic 25th anniversary emblem, and they're speculating maybe we'll get a new Sonic game this year, and I kind of almost not want to bring it up because Sonic is not a great franchise anymore. But what I'm really hoping with this is that they'll reissue some of the older Sonic games, some of the more obscure good ones like Sonic CD and Knuckles Chaotix, like games from the Sonic franchise that are hard to find nowadays. And it would be great to have iterations of those on modern consoles, and not just those, but like the mainstay games like Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, the games that made Sonic great. Like if I could get a chance to play those again, I would take that over any new Sonic game that they could ever come up with. Because I don't know what they're doing with the franchise. They fell asleep at the wheel. But this goes back to what I was saying earlier about Metroid. Like people, like these older franchises, they have a lot of potential, but modern developers want to push things into the 3D realm, and that doesn't always have to be the case. Like gameplay and games in general is a very broad spectrum, and there's tons of fun still to be found in old gameplay mechanics. So, why not a new 2D Sonic game? That would be great. I would play that. The fans would love it.
What about a 3D Sonic and on the Unreal 4 engine with, the best graphics the world's ever seen? No, I know what you're saying, bro. Like, they need to keep it, like, 2D. Just keep it the way those games were intended to be played. Like, you can make the game look beautiful and keep it on the 2D plane. I think they need to do like an HD collection that, they just enhance the visuals, but, keep it on the 2D plane. You know what I mean?
That would be perfect. And that's what a lot of fans, I think, would want. And you could do like a Sonic Maker, like they did a Mario Maker game. Make it like a Sonic Maker game first, where we can make our own Sonic levels.
Ooh, that'd be gnarly, man.
So there's some hope and there's some darkness in Sonic's 25th anniversary, because I got this feeling like we're gonna get another 3D Sonic game and they're gonna rush it out like they've done all the others, and it's gonna be fodder for all the YouTube Let's Players to make fun of.
Yeah, I'm on the realm of I don't understand how Sonic is a thing in this day and age. As many bad Sonics as they put out, I feel like they probably put out more bad Sonics than good Sonics. But that's from, somebody who doesn't play those games on the outside looking in. Am I completely wrong about that?
No, I'd be willing to bet there's way more bad Sonic games than there are good ones by now.
And yes, Sonic's never going anywhere. Like to me, that's crazy.
He's one of the main mascots of video games. It was him and Mario in the beginning in the old Sega Nintendo wars. So I don't see him going anywhere, but they gotta do something to make him
relevant.
Not just relevant, but entertaining as well.
Yeah, like you keep hitting on, they don't need to bring it into a 3D plane. Like, if they keep it on the 2D plane and make it the tightest platformer you've ever played, like, I feel like that would get people on board. And, somebody like me, like, if they hit that sweet spot and make it like a $20 game, I'd be all about it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Shovel Knight has proved that 2D platforming is still alive and well these days.
Exactly. And, you're starting to see all these, new, obscure, smaller indie titles that, are doing that. Look at that game Cuphead. That game looks beautiful. It's like stole the show when they showed it off, and that's on the 2D plane.
Yes, and they need to make more games like that are on a 2D plane that look like hand-drawn animation, because that was just amazing. And if they could do that with other games, like imagine like a hand-drawn Sonic game, that would be incredible.
That would be pretty incredible, man. That would be. I would like to see like a 2D what's the word? Cell shaded Sonic game.
Yeah, that could work too. Anything 2D is what I would be happy with.
Yeah, I think it looked like kind of cool if like you made like the background damn near photorealistic, but then made Sonic like look really like cell shaded. Like, to me, that'd be kind of cool if they did something like that, man. Like, take Sonic somewhere he's never been before, but in a good way.
Yeah, like just add some sort of interesting, like stylized conception to it.
Yeah,
Anything.
you know what would be interesting too, if they felt like they needed to do anything new, it'd be kind of cool if they gave like Sonic something like a grappling hook to where, like when you're going through the stages and you're in your ball and you're just like hauling ass, like, you had to make these gaps, but you needed to use a grappling hook in order to get you around some spikes or something like that. To me, they could do something interesting there. What do you think about a grappling hook?
That might provide some pretty interesting gameplay mechanics. I mean, Knuckles Chaotix had something similar to that, where two characters would tie together and you would slingshot around. So I could see that working, definitely.
Yeah, especially like boss fights or something. Like, make it to where the only way to do damage on the boss is to grapple him, and then, you had to, bounce off of him. Like, seems like it'd be kind of cool to do something like that. But, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of potential there.
Sonic, man, look for him in 2016. You have any other topics you want to discuss? It's an open mic, bro. You can talk about anything you want. We don't have to follow any structure.
I don't really have anything else on top of my head.
Okay, well, I wanted to talk about this. I wasn't originally going to bring it up, but now I kind of want to. Let's talk about, and I know you've seen it, this rumor that the NX is going to work with other platforms, possibly like PC and PlayStation 4. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see that article.
So what do you think about that? Is the internet, overthinking this? Is this something that's a rumor that's going to be debunked? Or do you think that there's actually, just what's your thoughts on it in general?
I believe there is some truth to this. The NX will probably have some PC compatibility. There might be cell phone compatibility, something. We might get an app for our phones that let us run some programs on them, but I don't see like Nintendo and Sony or Microsoft being cross-platform. I don't see that at all.
Right. I think you're going to have people that hear this rumor and they think that they're going to be streaming PlayStation 4 games on the NX. Like, I don't think that's what this is. I think there's no way that they could even do that, just because licensing and copyrights, like, it's not going to be a device that you can stream, other consoles' games to, and vice versa. Like you said, I think it's going to have some social interaction built into it, but I don't think that it's going to be something, you're going to be playing multi-plat games on.
Yeah, I don't see that at all.
Yeah. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, let's just say that it could do that. What's your thoughts then? That's a game changer.
I would. Yeah, like if they could somehow manage like cross-platform gaming with like, let's just say Sony. I mean, what would we do with that?
Yeah, because everyone says what Nintendo needs the most is to get their third-party support back. What if they didn't even have to worry about that? What if they were just like, oh no, go ahead and play your third-party PlayStation 4 games right on the NX on the go? Can you imagine?
That seems incredible. Like, technically, that would be incredible if they could pull that off.
I would be super stoked. That's for sure. What else, man? Yeah, have you seen anything else you want to talk about?
Not in the gaming sphere as of late.
Nah, not me neither, man. You want to go ahead and wrap up the show then?
Yeah, before I start going on and on about Metal Gear Solid 5.
Well, you want to talk about it real quick, or you want to save it for next week?
I could give my first impressions of it.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do that?
I love it. It's awesome. It's a ton of fun, and I highly recommend getting it.
In short, right?
In short.
Yeah. I'm interested to see some of your streams on it. I might eventually end up picking it up. We shall see. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this first show. Next week we'll come back with some new topics. Remember, if anyone ever wants to hear us hash out, some news or a big game or anything, just let us know down in the comments, and we'll try to get to it, the next show. So appreciate everyone stopping by and saying what's up, checking us out. We'll see you guys next week, same time, every Thursday at 9 a.m. See you later, Nate.
All right, game on.